Sorry, Luke.
Wow. What's up, guys? Luke the Welder here. If you guys saw Parker Mitchell's recent video on his supercharged Hellcat burnout car, Copycat, you saw that we built some expansion tanks for that bad boy.
We custom made these tanks. I designed them over the last week, and we're going to be making sure that they fit here inside this wheel well in this engine compartment. We're trying to maximize the amount of volume that we can get out of the coolant here. So we're making one for the driver's side and one for the passenger side over here.
Man, you got me making bungholes. A ton of bungholes today.
I heard you're the bunghole king.
I'm the bunghole master. They took the car all the way to Connecticut, and just a couple hours before the burnout competition, this expansion tank expanded a little bit too much, and it busted through the seam here.
I was trying to get the car idling, and oh my. Sorry, Luke, but split the tank.
Wow.
Brutal.
I saw it. I literally heard the pop. Luckily, they were able to find a welder in the area. They brought the expansion tank to that welder, and he was able to cut it and weld everything back together. He has a whole video of it on his channel where you can see the entire repair, and they were able to successfully do the burnout competition. Now that I have this expansion tank back in Florida, I thoroughly looked it over and tried to find a better solution for what we have here. We're gonna be cutting it apart and doing some modifications to it in order to make sure that when we put it back in the car next time, that doesn't happen again. So what we've got is 2 sheets of 1/4 inch thick sheet metal. This expansion tank is made entirely of 1/8 inch sheet metal. So we're gonna double up the thickness on 2 sides of the expansion tank. This plate right here and this side right here, we can actually reuse the bungs in the same position, and we're going to see what we can do to reinforce this. So we're gonna take this expansion tank inside, we're gonna start cutting it apart. Let's go. On the inside of the expansion tank, there's plenty of structural support all the way around, pretty much all of the sides, except for this side and this side. Each one of these sides right here has the most surface area with no structural support. So when the tank expanded, this weld is what failed. So we're gonna start by removing this angle iron here. We're going to cut the weld here, cut the weld all the way around this top plate, cut the weld all the way around this side plate. We're gonna replicate each one of these sides by cutting new pieces out of the sheet metal here in the background. We're also going to be putting some internal supports on the inside, so that way, if it tries to expand again, those internal supports will prevent that. All right, guys, we have the expansion tank complete. So I ended up doing 3 hole passes on every side where I replaced the sheet metal. Just wanted to make sure that this thing had absolutely no way of leaking or bowing or exploding anymore. Everything looks really good. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button so you can watch the video when we go to reinstall and test this on the car. If you guys would like to check out more of the content related to this and the Burnout car, make sure you go check out Parker Mitchell's channel at Dr. Parker on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button as always. I'll catch you on the next one.